one of the baddest sci-fi bounty hunters of all time. No, we're not talking about Boba Fett. We're talking about that badass from Nintendo, Samus. She's also one of the first female protagonists in all of gaming, if only she wasn't beat out by Miss Pac-Man. But then again, that's kind of just like throwing a bow on Mario and calling him Peach. So what are we gonna do with this badass bounty hunter? Well, of course, we're gonna turn her into a D&D build. Welcome to D&D Builds, where we have an outlet to make all sorts of ridiculous characters in Dungeons & Dragons, and hopefully stop driving the people in our lives insane with them. I do have one confession to make before we get started. I have absolutely no idea how you're really supposed to pronounce Samus's last name. I don't know if it's Aran, Orin, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, where are you? Where is Aaron right now? No Aaron, huh? I'm just asking, I said it like 4 times, so why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
Son of a...
But whatever the case, going forward, we're gonna build out Samus. And since Samus is well known for both being in her powerful suit, as well as her zero suit form, we're gonna do both builds. Before we dive in, if you like content like this, make sure to drop us a like-ment. That's a subscribe, a like, and a comment. It really helps the channel. This is a fan requested video and I'm actually super excited about it. So I want to give a quick thank you to Nathan Perez, who requested it in the comments of my Game Grumps and D&D video. And don't forget to check the link in my description where you can find my Patreon, where I'll be posting all the D&D character sheets for all of my builds. And you can even have the chance to have a D&D session DM'd by me. But now let's not waste any more time and build this bad bounty hunter with a blaster. Starting with the version of Samus in the suit. Because I kind of like that whole thing that was in the older Smash Brothers where she would blast so hard that her suit just kind of fell off. And first things first, let's pick a race. And considering we're actually differentiating between Zero Suit Samus and Samus in the suit, we're going to grab Variant Human and grab the feat Heavy Armor Master, really emphasizing the power armor that she wears. This will increase our strength by 1 point, which doesn't really matter too much for this build, but what does help is that while you're wearing heavy armor, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage that you take from non-magical attacks is reduced by 3. Maybe it'll help reduce the chance that an alien will latch onto your head. This race also gives you the common language as well as 1 more that you get to pick, and 1 skill proficiency. The language I would pick is Deep Speech, because this just so happens to be the language that an aboleth would speak. And as far as a general look, I think that's the closest we're going to get to an alien styled in a Metroid manner. And before we dive into some stats, we need to pick a class. That way we know what stats are really going to benefit us, while still making sense in this build. And it shouldn't be a huge surprise considering she has a blaster that she focuses on and has high-tech armor. We're going Artificer. And we also should probably pick out a subclass before we dive into stats too. It's really a question of, do you want to focus on her blaster or do you want to focus on the armor? Well, considering we already picked up the feat Heavy Armor Master and we're really highlighting the difference between Samus in her suit and Zero Suit Samus, I think it should be pretty obvious that we're going with the Armorer subclass. While the Force Ballista from Artillerist could be pretty useful for this build, I really want to highlight the benefits of going Armorer. So with all that in mind, let's jump into some stats. We are going to need some strength since you do whack things with your blaster on occasion, so we're going to boost that up a bit. And since it's not very helpful to have an odd number in strength, we want you to be able to hit stuff when you need to, so we're going to put 15 points into strength and get another +1 from the feat we took as Heavy Armor Master. We're going to dump Dexterity, because we need to focus on a few other things, and in order to be able to survive all of the alien attacks that she's going to have to deal with, we're going to bump up that Constitution. We're going to put 15 in Constitution and then get another +1 from our human variant. And then, the bread and butter from an Artificer class, Intelligence. We're going to put 15 points into Intelligence, and then get another +1 from our human variant. As far as wisdom, I wish we could put some points into it, but really we just don't have anything left over. So we're really going to rely on our technology to help out with our perception. And then lastly, we're just going to dump charisma because it's not like she talks a lot inside that suit. We have a few moves that we're going to really focus on. While I'm sure there's plenty of skills and abilities she uses throughout the Metroid series, we're going to focus on the more easily identified ones from Smash Brothers. Outside of the normal punches, she has the very obvious blaster, which she can also charge up and shoot. She can shoot a homing rocket out of it as well. She can spray fire above her head, really doing some damage. She can turn into a little ball and drop some bombs, as well as let out an energy beam that can pull in enemies. And finally, her final smash, where she lets out a Mega Blast. So we'll have to solve for all of these within this Artificer class. Jumping into Artificer, at level 1, she's going to get proficiency in Tinkerer's Tools, which is going to help in maintaining that suit. And then she gets 2 skills from being an Artificer. I would grab Arcana, because that is the closest you're going to get to more sci-fi technology and kind of replacing it with magic. And then I would take Nature. That way, hopefully you can better understand the general workings of the mother brain. And then you get 1 more skill from your human variant choice, and I would take Perception. It is one of the most valuable skills in the game. And while we're on the subject of skills, I almost forgot, we gotta pick a background. And considering she's known to be a badass bounty hunter, there's a pretty obvious choice. Urban Bounty Hunter. Because unfortunately they don't have a Space Bounty Hunter in D&D. This gives 2 skill proficiencies. We're gonna take Stealth, because that is kind of the only thing that could help us, even though we're gonna get disadvantage from being in our heavy armor. But you never know when it might come in handy. And then I would go with Insight, because the only other options with these skill proficiencies are Deception and Persuasion, and you already dumped Charisma, so those are kind of useless. This also gives you a tool proficiency in Thieves' Tools, which could be pretty helpful for getting through some of the doors in Metroid. And just for fun, since you get 1 more tool proficiency, I would grab the gaming set and just pretend it's an original Nintendo Entertainment System. Lastly, you also get to pick up 20 gold. That's not going to play into the build too much, but you're a bounty hunter, you collect your fees. Diving back into the Artificer level 1, as far as starting equipment, you don't have to worry about too much. Although, I guess if you have to start with something, might as well grab Scale Mail. And you do get to pick 1 simple weapon as well, and she does kind of just whack things with her giant gun arm in Smash Brothers. So I guess the best way we can pull that off is either a mace or a club. I'd just go with mace because it happens to have a slightly better damage die. You also start with those Thieves' Tools that you're proficient in, as well as a Dungeoneer's pack. You get magical tinkering, so that way you can tinker with the new technology that you're working on constantly, and you get some spell casting. But we'll save that for last. We have a handful of infusions that we get as an Artificer as well. There's not too many exciting infusions that we can really use, so we're really just gonna focus on boosting up that armor best we can. And since you can attune to more items, we're just gonna pretty much grab them all. So grab the Enhanced Arcane Focus to be able to blast a little better when you're casting spells from your blaster, as well as Enhanced Weapon. So that way when you're whacking people with a mace and reskinning it as your blaster, you can get a +1 to damage rolls made with it, and that gets upgraded to +2 when you get to 10th level, which also goes for that Enhanced Arcane Focus. Then for your additional infusions, I would grab Mind Sharpener, as it might help in dealing with the mother brain. And then of course I would grab Enhanced Defense to give yourself a boost to your armor class while in your special suit. And Helm of Awareness. The Helm of Awareness is going to be pretty useful for initiative rolls, but you can think of it as your heads-up display while you're in your suit, helping you to identify enemies. And I know we sped through the infusions, but I really want to get to the good stuff. The Artificer armor gets access to heavy armor, so you can upgrade your AC and take a few more hits without actually taking damage. Then that armor gets turned into Arcane Armor, which is D&D's version of turning it into an Iron Man suit, or in this case, a Metroid suit. This removes the strength requirement from your armor, but it's okay because we want to be able to smack things with a mace on occasion anyways, so it's still going to be useful to have our strength. You can also use this armor as the spellcasting focus for your spells, which is going to be super useful to blast out of your blaster that's attached to your arm. And lastly, this armor can't be removed from you against your will, and it can expand to cover your entire body, although you can retract or deploy a helmet as a bonus action. And lastly, as part of the Arcane Armor, you can doff or don this armor as an action, which is far faster than anyone else can, since usually heavy armor takes like 10 minutes. And that's super helpful for when you blast so hard all of your armor just falls off anyways. So now we need to pick an armor model. There's the option for Guardian, which has a defensive field and thunder gauntlets, but we need that blaster somehow, so we're going to take Infiltrator, which comes with a lightning launcher. That's going to be super helpful, and that's the best way we're going to be able to replicate the blaster in this build. Your lightning launcher counts as a simple ranged weapon, and it has a normal range of 90 feet, so you don't have to worry about getting too close if you don't have to. It deals 1d6 lightning damage, and once on each of your turns, you can make it deal an additional 1d6, almost like doing a tiny charge up. And once you hit level 4 in this class, this is where we start getting our ability score improvements. And since the Artificer is pretty straightforward, we're just going to be dumping all of them into Intelligence and Constitution. And you'll have one additional ability score improvement left over, so might as well throw it in Strength, just so that up attack can really work a little bit better. At 5th level in this class, you can attack twice rather than once, which is going to be super useful so you can just keep letting blasts out. And you get some additional armor modifications, which allows you to infuse different parts of your armor with different infusions. And lastly, you can increase the items you can infuse by 2. While there's not a ton of infusions that are going to be more helpful here, it's still nice to have. Then finally at 15th level in this class, because we're going to be taking this all the way to 20, you can upgrade your armor into Perfected Armor. And since we decided on Infiltrator, this upgrades the lightning damage that you can deal when using your blaster, meaning that once you hit somebody with your lightning launcher, it has disadvantage attacking you, and your next attack has advantage against it and deals another 1d6 lightning damage. So how are we going to replicate the rest of the moves? Well, that's what we got spells for. We already took care of the blaster, at least the small and slightly charged versions, but how are we going to take care of the missile? Well, the additional spells you get in this subclass include Magic Missile. Magic Missile always hits, just like a homing missile should. So that covers that without much issue. And there's 2 cantrips that are going to take care of 2 other abilities that we need to cover. As far as blasting fire above you, you can swing your mace while casting Green Flame Blade. Since it's already a pretty close range attack, I think this covers it super well. And to reach out and grab people with that weird string of energy, there's a very easy spell for this, and that's Lightning Lure. And also to turn into a ball, there's a kind of interesting spell we can play with here. And that spell's Odaluk's Resilient Sphere. This creates a sphere of shimmering force that encloses a creature or object of size large or smaller. And if you push against the object, you can roll it. And this is perfect for replicating Samus's ball. But we still have 2 abilities to worry about. Her final smash, and how the hell are we going to drop those little bombs? Well, the final smash is actually the easier part. Since it's a large blasting beam in one giant line that does a crap ton of damage, there's a spell that fits that really well in D&D. And you just so happen to get access to it with the Armorer Artificer. And that spell is Lightning Bolt.
Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Sleep! Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt! Sleep! Lightning bolt!
It shoots out in a line and blasts everybody that's in the way. And you can just upcast the crap out of it to make sure you get as much damage as possible. But how are we going to do our little poop bombs? Well, that's the most difficult part, but there's an item in D&D that actually can cover it. Only problem is, you can't actually get it from being an artificer, so you're going to have to hunt for this upgrade yourself. There just so happens to be an item filled with these beads that explode. It's called a necklace of fireballs. You have a certain number of beads on this necklace, and you can either throw the beads or just let them break on their own, and when they break, they explode with the power of the fireball spell. And just for the hell of it, since you got 20 levels of Artificer, for every attunement that you have as part of your high-tech suit of armor, you get an additional +1 to all of your saving throws for each one of those attunements. And just to add a little extra flavor, also as part of your level 20 cap in Artificer, instead of dropping to 0 hit points, you can actually use your reaction to end one of your Artificer infusions. And since most of your infusions are actually part of your armor, this kind of works in a cool theme, where as you're getting damaged, your armor is kind of breaking apart, and then you become Zero Suit Samus. So let's dive into the Zero Suit Samus build. This build is going to be completely different in a lot of ways, but two things that will stay the same is that we're still going variant human, and we're still going to have the bounty hunter background. So what do we know about Zero Suit Samus? Well, let's dive into Smash again, because that's such a useful resource. Most of Samus's abilities here are just relying on being very quick. She's one of the faster Smash characters, but she still has a kind of lightning whip ability, similar to what she had while she had the suit on. She also has a smaller handheld blaster. She also has the ability to jump pretty darn high. She does have the ability to somewhat stun her enemies. She also has this weird lightsaber thing that she uses pretty regularly, so we'll have to account for that as well. But outside of that, she really just punches and kicks. We don't have to worry about the final smash, because the final smash involves her calling down a friend or putting her suit on herself. I really don't know which one happens. And then blasting people with that lightning bolt again. So since it's not her being without the suit, I don't think we have to worry about it. So to cover our blaster, since we're not going to go high technology here, and she does shoot pretty quick with a small handheld blaster, the feat we're going to take from our human variant is Crossbow Expert. That way you can shoot pretty quickly while still using a handheld blaster. Don't worry, we're going to figure out a way to turn it into a more energy blast type of thing in just a minute. So since we're relying on speed and she does tons of kicking and punching, there's a class we know we're going to go with. And don't worry, we're not going to go our full fastest build ever like we did with our Sonic build, but we still need some extra speed. And the best class for that is Monk. So with that in mind, let's dive into some stats. Monks rely on two main attributes, and that's dexterity and wisdom. We're going to dump strength since without your suit, you're really relying on your quickness. So our dexterity is actually going to be what we boost here instead. We're going to bump it to 15 and then get another +1 from our human variant, bringing it to 16. We need to be able to take a couple hits, so we're going to take our constitution and bump it to 14. We still have a bit of leftover intelligence from our artificer abilities, so we're going to round that up to 10. And then lastly, we're going to take wisdom, bump it up to 15, and then get another +1 from our human variant, only to leave charisma completely dumped. We will still have all the same languages from our human variant, and the same skills from our human variant and urban bounty hunter. But as we dive into level 1 of monk, we get to choose 2 more skills, and I would definitely take acrobatics and athletics, because with all the jumping around Samus winds up doing in this form, I think it's only useful. Additionally, you get saving throws and strength and dexterity, and you get access to simple weapons and short swords. Thankfully, since you're not wearing a suit, you have unarmored defense as a monk. This allows you to have an armor class equal to 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier, bringing your current total to 16. As a monk, you also get martial arts. This is going to be super helpful since you do so much punching and kicking. At 2nd level of monk, you get ki. Ki will allow you some additional benefits, such as patient defense, which isn't very like the build, but what you will use are step with the wind, allowing you to double your jump distance so you can really get those high jumps in place, and flurry of blows to really let out some combos. Also at 2nd level, you get unarmored movement. As you level up in this class, it continues to get faster and faster. It actually winds up getting so fast that you wind up being able to move across vertical surfaces and liquids, but that doesn't really play into the build too much. But by the time you get 18 levels of monk, you can get an additional 30 feet of movement. So at 3rd level, we need to pick a subclass. And there's one I already have in mind. That's going to be the Kensai. With the path of the Kensai, you get to choose 2 types of weapons that will be your Kensai weapons. One melee weapon and one ranged weapon. They can be any simple or martial weapon that lacks the heavy and special properties. With that in mind, we're finally going to be able to use our hand crossbow. Additionally, at this level, you get Kensai shot. This will allow you to do a slight charge up attack on your crossbow, giving you an additional 1d4 of damage. I know it's not much, but you only need a little charge up to make it a little more believable when it comes to the abilities that are used in Smash. At 3rd level, you get Deflect Missile, which is just helpful in general, but it doesn't really play into the build too much. And then at level 4 you get your first ability score improvement. We're just going to throw those into dexterity. Also at level 4 you get slow fall, allowing you to reduce the damage you take when you fall, which only makes sense for when you're falling so far. At 5th level you get extra attack, and this is going to be that much more helpful for busting out those combos, especially when you mix it with flurry of blows. And of course one of the bread and butter of any monk, stunning strike. This is going to be super helpful for stunning your enemies, which does happen here and there. And then at 6th level you get One with the Blade from Way of the Kensai. This allows your Kensai weapons to become magical. And now we can finally have them look like they do in Smash. Instead of your short sword just being a normal short sword, it can be glowing with magic, replicating the more lightsaber type of look. And instead of just shooting normal bolts out of your hand crossbow, they're now charged up with magic, so they're more like energy blasts. And if you want to charge it up a little more, on top of your Kensai shot, you can also add Deft Strike, allowing you to deal an additional amount of damage equal to your martial arts die. As you continue to level up, once you hit level 7, you get Evasion, which really buys into that whole quickness mentality, and you get Stillness of Mind, allowing you to end one effect on yourself of being either charmed or frightened. This can be pretty helpful when dealing with the Mother Brain, but it can also be pretty helpful when you have to deal with a dragon monster named after the protagonist from Alien, because a lot of dragons seem to have the ability to inflict fear. Then at level 8 you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to dump those into dexterity, bringing it to 20, and bringing your AC up to 18. At level 10 you get Purity of Body, which doesn't really play in that much, although now you are immune to disease and poison. At level 11 you get Sharpen the Blade, allowing you to really boost that damage that you're dealing, giving you a maximum of up to +3 to your damage. At level 12 you get another ability score improvement, so we're just going to dump that into Wisdom, bringing your AC up to 19, making you that much harder to hit. At level 14 you get Diamond Soul, making you proficient in all saving throws, and if you do fail one, you can spend a key point to re-roll it. At level 15 you get Timeless Body, and I think this is only useful as far as this build goes to try and pretend that you're kind of dealing with some sort of hypersleep or cryosleep or something, because that pops up in pretty much any sci-fi movie where they're traveling throughout space. Then at level 16 you get one more ability score improvement, and we're finally going to max out Wisdom, meaning that you have 20 AC, making you pretty darn hard to hit. And then at level 17 you get Unerring Accuracy, meaning that when you miss with a weapon, you can actually re-roll it once. Then at level 19 you get Empty Body. This allows you to turn invisible, which might be an item in Smash, but it doesn't really play into the whole Zero Suit Samus theme too much, so it doesn't matter a ton. Then at level 19 you get your last ability score improvement, and here's where it gets a little tricky. So you could take the Magic Initiate feat, giving yourself a cantrip, and you can grab Lightning Lure from the Wizard class, but that would require you to depend on intelligence for being able to hit with it. And you don't have a lot of intelligence to spare. You put it all into Wisdom. You could just try to re-flavor Thorn Whip and take it from the Druid spell list, but I don't really like that either. It doesn't feel like it fits the build as well. Or maybe even add Whip to your list of Kensai weapons and boost it up with magic damage, but that doesn't have that pulling effect that we want. So instead, I would actually use the ability score improvement, bump up your Constitution to 16, and then, instead of taking your 20th level in Monk, take one level in one other class, and that class would be Cleric. You can utilize your Wisdom for this multi-class, and you get a subclass at level 1 by being a Cleric. At level 1 of being a Cleric, you can choose the Arcana domain. Within the Arcana domain, you get the Arcane Initiate at level 1. This allows you to choose 2 cantrips from the Wizard spell list and use them as if they're cleric spells, which means you can use your Wisdom for the spell casting. So now we can grab Lightning Lure, and while we're at it, might as well grab Shocking Grasp, because it does kind of fit with this build. And you still have a couple spell slots you can use whenever you feel like, but you can only grab level 1 spells. So just to fit with the blaster, I would grab Guiding Bolt, because it's kind of close. And then from your Arcana domain, you also have the ability to take the spell Magic Missile. And this is just the way to let your blaster really fire off a bunch of shots. So now you know how to build Zero Suit Samus as well as when she's got her suit on. And you can be your own badass bounty hunter. Thank you to Nathan Perez for commenting on a previous video and suggesting this build. It was a ton of fun to build this out. If you have ideas for videos, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I try and read as many of them as possible. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you want the character sheets for my builds, I'll be posting them in my Patreon, which is linked in the description below. Hope you had fun with today's build. I know I did. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. This has been D&D Builds, and just for making it all the way here, I hope you make at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session.